It's Friday afternoon, and you're about to send that final report for the day. The weekend is just around the corner. You breathe a sigh of relief, but just as you're about to hit send, you're startled by a low rumbling under your desk. At first, you think it might be the light rail passing by. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It's a volcano. Wait, a volcano. Here, in Arizona. That's right. The ground beneath Arizona is constantly reminding us that Earth is alive. But no need to panic. Let's break it down and arm ourselves with some context. 20 American states have extinct, active, and dormant volcanoes, volcanoes that are currently sleeping but could awaken. Some of these states include California, New Mexico, Nevada, Utah, and Colorado. Fortunately, Arizona's volcanoes are dormant at the moment, but that doesn't mean they won't erupt in the future. In fact, Arizona is home to remnants of an active volcanic past, and these volcanic traces dot the state's desert landscapes like spots on a Dalmatian. There are vast volcanic fields, southwest of Phoenix, east of Douglas, near Flagstaff, north of Kingman, and even close to the Mexican border. The most unsettling thing about these fields. Although they aren't active now, eruptions in the region tend to happen roughly every 1,000 years. The last significant eruption occurred about 1,000 years ago at the Sunset Crater. We'll dive deeper into this location a little later, but first, let's talk about volcanic hotspots. In volcanic terms, a hotspot is a place where immense amounts of heat melt the overlying crust, Earth's thin outer layer, forming volcanoes. This heat rises from the mantle, which lies between our planet's superheated core and the crust. Want an example of a volcanic hotspot? Look no further than the Hawaiian Islands. Hawaii's Big Island has active volcanoes because it currently sits on top of the Hawaiian hotspot. Older Hawaiian islands were once situated there too, but over time, they drifted northwest as the Pacific Plate moved. Ocean basins worldwide are dotted with islands sitting on top of hotspots, like Hawaii, Iceland, Samoa, and the Galapagos. These are some of the most famous examples. But don't think hotspots are exclusive to oceanic crust. Continental hotspots exist, though they are rarer. One of the most famous continental hotspots. The one beneath the Yellowstone caldera. A caldera is a vast volcanic crater that forms after a massive eruption causes the collapse of the volcano's mouth. The Yellowstone hotspot created wonders like Old Faithful, along with the park's hot springs and mud pots. Speaking of Old Faithful, let's take a short detour to appreciate this natural marvel. It's one of the world's most famous geysers, drawing visitors from around the globe for over a century. What makes Old Faithful special is that geysers like it form only under very specific conditions, making them quite rare. Magma beneath the surface superheats underground water, creating immense pressure until it forces water upwards with incredible strength. This geyser doesn't erupt every hour on the hour, as some might expect. Instead, Old Faithful erupts roughly every 91 minutes. Not bad, right? And if you plan to visit, there's an app to give you a heads up on the next eruption. Just remember to keep your distance. The water shoots out at 204 degrees Fahrenheit, and the steam can reach a scorching 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, back to our discussion on volcanic hotspots. Scientists still aren't entirely sure why there are fewer hotspots on continental crust compared to oceanic crust. One reason could be that continental crust is much thicker, about 4 times as thick, on average. Additionally, oceanic crust makes up about 2/3 of Earth's surface, so there's just less continental crust for hotspots to form beneath. For those living in Arizona, here's something you might find interesting. Arizona has a volcanic field right in its heart, the San Francisco Volcanic Field. This massive area is home to over 600 volcanoes, mostly small but no less impressive. They're scattered across 1,800 square miles in northern Arizona, a truly vast territory. Interestingly, scientists still debate whether this volcanic field sits on top of a hotspot. But one thing they do agree on is that the volcanoes get younger as you move east, aligning with the movement of the North American plate. The volcanic activity in the San Francisco field began about 6 million years ago, making it relatively young in geological terms. The most recent eruption, less than 1,000 years ago, at Sunset Crater. Sunset Crater, located near Flagstaff, is the most famous vent from that eruption. The Sinagua people, who lived at Wapotki Pueblo, had to abandon their homes due to the volcanic activity. Today, that site is part of the Wapotki National Monument, where visitors can glimpse what life was like in this volcanic region long ago. In this volcanic field, you'll find mostly basalt cinder cones, small, steep volcanoes. Thanks to Arizona's dry climate, these cones haven't eroded much. Some, like SB Crater, still look almost new. But the field isn't just cinder cones. It also features lava domes and a stratovolcano. The lava in these areas is thicker and flows less easily than the basalt found in places like Hawaii. The crown jewel of this volcanic field is the San Francisco Peaks, the remains of a once massive stratovolcano. Standing at over 12,600 feet, these peaks are among northern Arizona's most iconic landmarks. They're not only visually stunning but also hold deep spiritual significance for Native American tribes that have lived in the region for generations. Unlike the active volcanoes of Hawaii, the San Francisco volcanic field takes its time, with thousands of years between eruptions. But that doesn't mean it's dormant forever. Geologists believe another eruption is inevitable, likely in the more remote eastern part of the field, far from major towns. And if the next eruption resembles the one that created Sunset Crater, it'll be a spectacle, lava fountains and rivers of molten rock. It might not happen for centuries, perhaps even millennia, but until then, the San Francisco volcanic field remains a hidden gem of volcanic history, waiting for its next fiery performance.